Everyone says their car is the most reliable, but what if the reports prove they're lying? In Europe and the US, the truth is coming out, and it's shocking. Some trusted brands are falling apart, others you'd never expect are suddenly leading the pack. Is it just bad luck, or a global scam? Let's get into it. In the US, reliability still matters, but the game has changed. Every year, Consumer Reports updates its rankings, and once again, Japanese brands lead the way. Toyota, Lexus, Honda, and Subaru are still at the top. For example, the 2025 Subaru Forester scored an incredible 98 out of 100. The Toyota RAV4 wasn't far behind with an 86. Even the hybrid version of the RAV4 pulled a strong 84. But here's where it gets interesting. Two American crossovers, the Chevrolet Trailblazer and the Ford Escape, also scored 68. That might not seem high, but it's a big deal. Most people don't expect these brands to land anywhere near Toyota in the reliability chart. Yet here they are, quietly showing up amongst the best. When it comes to electric vehicles, the story takes a sharp turn. Tesla, the brand that made EVs cool, is now struggling with reliability. Consumer Reports gave the Tesla Model 3 a score of just 42. Meanwhile, the BMW i4 leads the EV pack with a score of 82. Even the Nissan Ariya and the Lexus RZ at 58 and 57 outperform the Tesla. That's not just a fluke. Forums are full of complaints, and CR's data backs them up. According to their analysis, traditional automakers are building more reliable EVs than Tesla. Another report, this time from JD Power, paints a similar picture. Their 2024 study found reliability problems now at their highest level since 2009. Supply chain issues during the pandemic are part of that reason, but even so, some brands shine. Lexus ranked number 1 overall for the third year in a row. Buick topped the mainstream segment. There's a bigger issue with EVs though. Battery electric vehicles report 256 problems per 100 cars. For petrol vehicles, that number is only 187. The weight of the EVs is one reason. Heavier cars wear out tires and suspension faster. In fact, 39% of EV drivers had to replace tires in 1 year. That's nearly double the 20% for petrol car owners. But not all news is bad. AAA, the American car testing organization, named the all-electric Mercedes-Benz EQS580 SUV their top performer. It was praised for its smooth ride, quiet interior, and strong headlights. AAA's full 2024 guide showed one clear trend. Every top-rated car was either electric or hybrid. SUVs also led in popularity. So the message is clear. EV and hybrid technology is improving, but not all models are equal. Brand matters, and how each brand builds their car makes a big difference. Other sources agree. CarEdge and RepairPal have long shown that Asian brands dominate when it comes to reliability. Honda and Acura often come out on top. Toyota too, though it dropped to 7th in 1 year as new rivals like Kia gained ground. Overall, Asian brands are still the most reliable. European luxury cars, on the other hand, tend to cost more to fix. In the US market, this trend hasn't changed. If you want a reliable car, you're probably going Japanese or Korean. American and European models, they might give you more tech, but often come with more problems. And not every EV or crossover has been a win. Tesla's Model Y and Volkswagen's ID.4 both scored poorly in owner surveys. The Porsche Macan EV and Jaguar I-Pace also disappointed, especially for their price. Even traditional American trucks have had issues. The Ford Expedition and Ram 1500 or 2500 sometimes lands on the do not recommend lists. So what does it all mean? It means consumers are learning. Flashy brands and big promises don't always mean dependable cars. Sometimes a simple Toyota or Subaru will outlast a luxury EV, and that's forcing car makers to rethink how they build and test their vehicles. Across the pond, Europe has its own gauge for car durability, often more mechanical and inspection-based. Take Germany's TÜV report 2025. It crowned the Honda Jazz as the most reliable car. A bit of a surprise champion that clearly demonstrates that small cars can deliver outstanding quality. TÜV also gave a big insight into electric vehicles. EVs built on older petrol car platforms like the VW e-Golf and Mini Cooper SE had very few problems. In their first inspections, only 3 to 4% had major faults. Compare that to Tesla's Model 3. 14.2% showed serious defects after just 2 to 3 years. Even the Renault Zoe, which has been around for a while, showed 8.9% with major issues. So what does this mean? EVs are generally solid, but when they're built from scratch on new platforms, the problems show up earlier. Lighting problems stood out too. Headlights and visibility issues were the most common faults across all kinds of vehicles. Yet overall, only 20.6% of cars had serious problems, a number nearly the same as the year before. That shows in Europe, quality remains fairly consistent and problems aren't exploding. Another report from Germany came through ADAC, the country's huge roadside assistance network. They had some surprising numbers from spring 2025. For cars aged 2 to 4 years, electric vehicles broke down far less often than petrol or diesel ones. EVs had just 3.8 breakdowns per 1,000 cars. Petrol and diesel cars? A whopping 9.4. That's more than double. Even when they're adjusted for the fact that most EVs are still relatively new, the results stayed the same. Electric was better. But there's a twist. The big EV battery wasn't the problem in most breakdowns. It was the small 12-volt battery, the one that runs the electronics. The battery alone caused half of EV breakdowns in 2024. And it's not just EVs. Even petrol cars had 45% of breakdowns linked to the same small battery. One EV that didn't do so well? The Hyundai Ioniq 5. For 2021 models, breakdowns were already high, 18.3 per 1,000 cars. But it got worse. The 2022 versions jumped to 22.4 per 1,000, the highest rate in the EV category. Meanwhile, Tesla pulled off a turnaround. Their 2022 Model 3 had just 0.5 breakdowns per 1,000. That's a massive improvement and the best performance in the study. Tesla seems to have quietly fixed the issues in their European production line. ADAC summed it up best. Electric cars are now more reliable than petrol ones, as long as they're designed well and maintained properly. In the UK, magazines and surveys back this up. What Car and Drive Power from CarWow show that lesser-known brands often do really well. Suzuki, Citroën, and especially Dacia stand out. Dacia, known as the budget brand, even jumped from 11th to 6th place in one survey. Their Duster SUV got a special praise for being tough and simple. It's not just about big names anymore. Value and durability are winning respect. On the other hand, some premium brands are slipping. Jaguar and certain Italian models now get lower scores in these same surveys. Drivers across Europe are clearly putting their money into things that last, not just what looks fancy. Germany even has more data sources. DEKRA, another testing body, often finds older Toyotas holding up well, while many SUVs, especially large off-road types, fail more often. Auto Build magazine has shown that basic, no-frills cars usually last longer than expensive models loaded with tech. The trend repeats again and again. ADAC's Yellow Angel service tracks breakdowns in new cars too. Their data shows EVs are improving steadily, but common problems still pop up. Lights, small batteries, and a few mystery glitches. Still, the big picture is, Europeans' testing systems are based on millions of kilometers, and they don't lie. The real winners are small, efficient, and proven cars that quietly outlast everything else. The Honda Jazz, that little hatchback, didn't just win a badge. It became a symbol of practical, long-term reliability. Europe's transition to EVs hasn't broken that trend either. In fact, it's made things a lot better, as long as the designs are smart and based on solid foundations. Yet one truth stands out the most. High-tech EVs are a gamble. If they're based on familiar platforms like the VW e-Golf or e-Up, they do great. But if they're built entirely new, like Tesla's earlier efforts, problems sneak in fast. Thankfully, newer versions seem to be catching up. Now, why do car durability reports look so different in the US and Europe? It comes down to how people drive, where they drive, and how their cars are built. In America, drivers cover long distances on wide highways. Think road trips across states. In Europe, most drives are short, between towns, through cities, or up narrow country roads. This changes how cars wear down. Highway driving in the US is smooth and steady. It's easier on the brakes and on the suspension, but it adds more hours to the engine. The engine has to last long, like a marathon runner. In Europe, stop-and-go traffic wears out brakes and clutches faster. Cars face tight corners, cobblestone streets, and constant gear changes. Even how cars are built is different. European models often have stiffer suspension for faster autobahn speeds but softer seats for long-distance comfort. American cars may sit higher and feel softer to handle potholes better. Some even use bench seats. Muscle cars and pickups in the US are built strong. They trade comfort for durability. Meanwhile, small European city cars like the Volkswagen Polo or Renault Clio focus on fuel efficiency. They aren't built to haul heavy loads or tow trailers. Fuel also plays a big part. Europe used a lot of diesel in the past and now uses cleaner fuels with stricter emissions rules. European cars are made to run on lower sulfur fuel and have advanced engine computers. American cars used to have looser emission standards. They often had large engines built for raw power. That kind of power puts heat and stress on engine parts. For example, A V8 engine sounds great, but needs strong cooling or it might overheat. European diesels can last 1 million kilometers if serviced well, but they can wear out turbochargers and filters faster. Car size and class also shape options. In America, big SUVs and trucks rule. People want vehicles that can carry a family, a dog, and weekend gear. In Europe, many people only own 1 or 2 cars. They need something compact and easy to park. A European might say their Dacia Duster is perfect. An American probably hasn't even heard of Dacia. They'd look at brands like Toyota or Jeep instead. Reports back this up. The Toyota Highlander and Land Cruiser get around 60 out of 100 in US surveys. That's pretty solid. But the Ford Edge gets 74 and the BMW X5 scores 61. Europeans view the X5 as just one of many luxury SUVs, like the Audi Q7 or Range Rover. But in the US, the X5 feels premium and aspirational, so the way people see the same car can be very different. How long people keep the cars matters too. In America, the average car age is 12 years. That's a pretty long time. US buyers want vehicles that last. That's why Toyota promotes 200,000 mile durability. In Europe, people change cars more often. Every 5 to 7 years is pretty normal. Leasing is popular, so short-term reliability often matters more than long-term durability. That changes what buyers complain about in surveys. Take the VW Golf, for example. In Europe, it runs fine at 150,000 miles. That's pretty impressive. In the US, people want to know if the engine ever leaked or needed major repairs. Americans look at their service history. Europeans look at inspection results. Both care about quality, but they measure it differently. Climate also plays a role. Europe is small but has all kinds of weather, from snowy Scandinavia to sunny Spain. Cars get rained on, snowed on, and salted in cities. If a vehicle can't handle that, it rusts. That's why old Opel Astras got a bad name. They rusted fast. In the US, snow and salt damage cars in the Midwest, while sun and humidity in the South hurt plastics and electronics. In rural areas, people often drive off-road. That means tougher suspension and brakes are a must. The roads and laws are different too. In Europe, many countries have strict vehicle inspections. In Germany, it's called the TÜV. In the UK, it's the MOT. A car must pass to stay legal. If your lights or emissions fail, you're not allowed to drive. So car makers have to make sure these systems work perfectly. In the US, inspections vary. Some states don't even require them. Instead, Americans rely on owner surveys and service data. That's why US reports say things like 20% of owners replaced their headlights this year, while European reports say 30% of 10-year-old cars failed headlight checks. Both say something useful, but in different ways. So when American brands build cars, they often focus on early quality, like how the car runs in the first 3 years. European makers think about long-term inspection results. A Toyota Camry might last forever in the US, but it's not even solid in most of Europe. A Volkswagen Golf might be beloved in Europe, but Americans only recently started seeing it as an import. It all depends on what the driver needs. If you drive 100 kilometers a day on a motorway, you need something strong and smooth. If you live in a city with tight streets and lots of rain, you want a small car that won't rust and eats little fuel. These cultural habits shape what shows up in reports, and the car makers, they're paying attention. Ford CEO Jim Farley admitted in 2025 that quality needed to improve. He said they've made real progress and now focused on long-term durability. Ford even delayed some vehicle launches to fix issues before release. The new 2024 F-150 shipped with 12 fewer recalls. That's a big deal. Farley said, "We're focused on short-term service and long-term powertrain durability." He's not just saying it. Ford is investing in better engines and transmissions to back it up. Volkswagen has also owned up. In their 2024 report, they said warranty and repair costs jumped in 2020. That's when more electric and hybrid models came in. These high-tech cars had more things that could go wrong. But VW says things are getting better again. By 2023, costs started falling. They launched programs like Top 10 Quality across brands like Audi and Skoda. They're training engineers to find EV issues before customers do. VW is pouring money into testing and software to avoid bad headlines later. Mercedes-Benz usually keeps quiet, but in 2024, they recalled 32,000 cars over a fuse issue. It could cause a fire or sudden power loss. That's serious. They fixed it without much press, but it shows even top-tier brands can slip up. On the bright side, their EQS electric car won AAA's Best Vehicle of 2024. They're also working on batteries that can last over 200,000 miles. Mercedes is betting that strong software and quiet updates will keep them ahead. Tesla. The loudest player in the EV game reacts differently. They push back against bad reports. They say the data is old and doesn't reflect their latest builds. To be fair, the 2022 Tesla Model 3 had a breakdown rate of just 0.5 per 1,000 cars in Europe. That's a huge improvement. Tesla's factories in Berlin and Shanghai now aim for better parts and tighter assembly. They even asked Consumer Reports to update their scores. CR said no. But Tesla's answer is speed. Fix the software, improve the factories, keep customers happy. Asian makers like Toyota and Hyundai are quieter. Toyota just says, "We've always been reliable," and the data agrees. They keep winning awards from JD Power and Consumer Reports. Hyundai, after problems with the Ioniq 5, started adding battery fixes and stronger 12-volt systems. Their engineers now run quality reviews every year for their EVs. They're even working with German labs to retest their systems. So the race is on. Some companies like Ford and VW are making big changes. Others like Tesla and Mercedes are fixing problems as they come. Toyota stays calm and consistent. But one thing is clear, car buyers are watching. So are governments. And no company wants to be the one that shows up in the next bad headline. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button.